Here's my title. Got debt? Don't fret. The issue is student debt. And the question is, do you ever think we will find a solution to student debt?
Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right. Are we ready, guys?
Happy hour.
Happy hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would take those breaths because when I said don't fret, I was obviously lying. Because let me tell you, there is approximately $1.6 trillion of student debt out there.
No.
I mean, doesn't that just put a bad taste in your mouth? Let me also tell you, 43 million Americans have student debt.
Yeah.
Which is approximately 13%. So 1 in 8 people have student debt.
Holy crap.
And think about most of those are probably people around our age.
Yeah. So the average for regular undergrad, you come out with about 30 grand in student debt. If you go to graduate school, it's an average of 70,000. But if you're law school, it's like 150. And if you're medical school, it's around 200 or plus.
I mean, it is this crazy thing. Can I just tell a little anecdote before you give some information? Like a good friend of mine is in law school, and mental state that I remember went in with when he went to law school was, okay, I might want to practice like civil rights law or something like that, but I'm going to have to work in corporate law and litigation for a certain amount of time to pay off my student debt. So I already have to kind of like derail maybe what my passion is or what I'm interested in. I mean, like Michael and I both went to film school. Like that doesn't create any sort of job assurance. And I feel
God help your parents.
And I feel like we're living in a world where we're constantly asking young people to kind of derail what they might actually be interested in and focus on what's going to be most sort of logical and practical to pay off their student debt.
So here's where I think it's interesting is a lot of the student debt is most of it's actually held for the people who are like 39 to 55.
Like when college started to get expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's really sad, what you just said, Anna, is people want to follow their passion, but then they go, I'm going to be in debt my entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't think people truly understand what a loan is when they're in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
When they sign on that dotted line and say,
yet another reason why we need like tax classes and stuff like that in high school.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm hoping today with, the internet and so much information available, you can see really what you are going to have to do and pay for that, which is great. And I'm hoping that goes down. I just heard about some kid going to school at Santa Clara and it's almost up to $80,000 a year.
Are you kidding?
For tuition. And I was like, I don't even know how people afford that anymore.
They don't.
But,
so who's working on, who's working on this? I feel like it's so pertinent to young politicians.
So the reason I wanted to talk about this, because there's a lot of young politicians. There's 59 members who have student debt, in a total about $6 million. And
that's a lot. I mean, that's not, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but for some reason that number.
It's sizable. And what's interesting is a lot of people will say that when you're working on student debt, that these politicians, mostly Democrats, you have AOC, she has about 17,000, Alon, Omar has about 50, Rashida 70, Jamal's 200, Sharice is 200, all these, a lot of the squad members plus Democrats. But anything that they implement, they have a conflict of interest. So it cannot benefit them while they're in office.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, how about Republicans? Are they forthcoming on presumably some of them?
Is it just that they haven't given the information or none of them have student debt? I find that hard.
Here's what's interesting is, the COVID plan was passed, with a Republican majority and Trump was the one who signed it. And there was a massive student loan relief in there, which, a lot of the Democrats fought for, but it was passed by them. It put a temporary stop on loan forbearance, 0 interest rate on student loans. No collections were done. Saved about $120 billion collectively for those people.
Wow.
But the issue really comes in, how do you fix this?
Yeah.
Right? There's been multiple politicians who have come and said, eliminate student debt entirely and make higher education free for all. Some people say, forgive student debt if you do internships or residencies in rural areas. You cannot pay off your debt if your income is low.
Yeah.
Right? If you're paying ridiculous rates, it just doesn't translate. So what a lot of politicians on both sides have said, it needs to be attached to your income. So if you're making,
meaning what exactly?
So if you're making 60 grand a year, what they would want to lower it to is that your payments cannot make up more than 12% of your total income.
Oh, so because if you can't meet that payment based on your income, then you're just going to perpetuate and your interest is going to continue to grow.
You'll never get out of it.
But if they are able to shrink your payment, even if you owe the same amount, if your payments can be, is that what you're saying? If your payments can be less?
Yeah. I think the sad part is like, let's just think about this 12% number here.
Yeah.
Then what's the percent that makes up your rent? What's the percent that I truly feel bad for people out there. I mean, I'm dealing with this right now. My rent's incredibly expensive. And when you add everything up, it's 60% of your monthly income. Right.
Yeah.
So then how do you then have a family and
back to this like urban rural thing that Ro Khanna had been talking about, that for a lot of people who live in costly cities, their rent costs 50% of their income.
The tuition is too damn high.
The tuition is too damn high. That should have been the title.
I honestly, what I'm really scared of actually is people not following what they truly want to do in life.
Yeah.
And what really scares me from the medical side is seeing how much debt medical students can be in, which is 200 plus. They said it up to 250 for sure. I was like, we need you there, and
less
it
people
takes
want
a really
to become
strong
doctors
person
because of that.
to go through that. I'm not so sure on the lawyers, but what is that teaching people? And then what is that? I think that affects people going into government, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to make that much money.
Totally.
Pay off your student debt. Teachers.
You need high degrees to get in to be a public school teacher. So why? And then you make no money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I think there could be a program, and I actually read this on some sites, where basically if you truly loved what you wanted, you knew your profession, you could pay off your debt by going, to work in a public agency for the next amount of years.
Like,
if you work there.
Not military conscription, but kind of like conscription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that kind of reminds me of the thing that is sort of become popular, I think, within the last, 4 years or so, which is this idea that, hey, we shouldn't be encouraging everybody to go to college. We should be encouraging folks to, go to more trade school centric places of learning for practical, realistic jobs. And I think that runs very contrary to the adage of follow your dreams. And so I'm curious what you guys think as far as a solve to student debt. Is it to go to a school or a trade such as computer tech programming to then get one of these new jobs that somebody like Ro Khanna is advocating for?
Well,
or does that run contrary to everything we're about?
I kind of disagree with that diagnosis of it, because I think that
and that's all the time we have. I do great with disagreement. Totally. It's fine. I'm fine.
What we as a society, I think, have put too much weight on is that dreams are only valid when they're pursued through higher education. And I think that, what I think tech has proven to us, what arts has always proven to us, what a number of other industries have proven, is that you don't need a PhD, you don't need a higher degree to be skilled and be smart at something.
Anthony, can you give us a final thought on student debt, how we fix it? What's the solve?
I'm not sure the solution, but here's what I think. I think the Republicans should take this as one of their major issues going into 2024.
Okay.
And to bring incredible legislation, like groundbreaking to student debt, because I think they're going to pick up a lot of young new voters by doing it.
Wow. That's a great idea. And you're saying,
and it's something that
the Democrats have failed to deliver on, basically, or agree upon.
Deliver every time. And the Democrats will jump on board because it's a big issue for them.
Right.
And the Republicans will get all of the credit.
All the credit.
The Republican base
doesn't matter. You get a
that's
whole
who votes
new
in the
base.
primaries, though.
People care about their money. And by the way, if someone is helping me bring down my debt with the government, you're going to get my vote.
Anthony's become a Republican consultant.
I hate saying this, but that is a great idea, man.
Okay, moving on. Don't let him relish in it too much.
Okay, fine.